What's up? Welcome to Tales Tomorrow. I am Morrow, your storyteller for today, and with me I have some more RPG horror stories. By the way, exciting stuff for anybody that plays Baldur's Gate 3. They have mods. Proper, actual functioning mods. Well, some of them are functioning. That means that Micah, Mary, and I can actually start playing some Baldur's Gate together as a satyr and an Aasimar, because the game doesn't come with those specifically, but thanks to the mods, we can now put a satyr and an Aasimar into the game, and it's so exciting. And an artificer too. Oh my god, the modding scene is gonna be so amazing. Anyway, before I get to the Baldur's Gate stuff, let's go ahead and get to the RPG horror stories for today. As a DM, how to work with a mysterious player character that doesn't talk and isn't interested in anything in the world. This story is actually from r/dnd, not RPG Horror Stories. Somebody posted a repost of this link for the story onto RPG Horror Stories. So I'm just gonna go directly, we're just gonna read the whole story itself all together by itself and kind of maybe give advice, I don't know. Hello, I'm looking for tips on how to best work with one-on-one players. I have some experience as a player, but this is my first time being a DM in a campaign of my own making. I have 5 players total that know each other. Each sent me a little backstory about their characters that I asked for, most of the backstories and motivations in life, and everyone is hyped to play. One experienced player asked for a more unique start of the campaign than just meeting in a tavern or prison, in which I was happy to comply. I decided to start a smaller session with just 2 players to introduce them to the world and each other, and to finish making their characters. We're all friends and everyone was doing fine until we started playing. One of these friends was amazing and smart, which was great. However, the other one was very difficult to work with. Her character had a fairly tragic backstory with a murdered family and described herself as few words and slow to trust someone. I said that's fine, I don't mind her being mysterious, I'll let her play when she wants. I had no idea that this would literally mean my character won't say a single word in a 6-hour session. It was her and another friend on a first session, and her character only communicated in facial expressions. What does the player want others to do? Keep rolling insight? Roll insight. 3. You have no idea what her expression is saying. That sounds like a terrible way to communicate with somebody. Speak a little bit? A few worded sentences, perhaps? No? Is that too much? Okay, let's keep going. I felt bad for my other friends who was forced to handle all the actual roleplay conversations despite my silent friend's character being way more suitable to do so according to their backgrounds. 3 times in total something happened around them that screamed, "Hey, here's your adventure!" And 3 times she just said, "No," and went the other way. A blue light pierced the night sky and something heavy fell in the forest just 500 meters from their camp, and she just went to sleep. I created a friendly NPC specifically for her that has answers about her tragic past. It was meant to point her somewhere. She passed the check and recognized him. The NPC spent the night at their camp, yet she completely ignored him and didn't ask a single question. Like, nothing against your friend or anything, but do they want to play? Sounds like they want to play because they made the character and backstory, but the way they're playing their character means they don't want to play. Have you considered just asking a player what they want? Even I'm confused. I don't even know what they want. I like to be a good DM and try to make a world that fits my players' fantasies. I don't want to force them to play a certain way or to make decisions for them. However, I always thought that at some point, even us as players have to make decisions that push the story one way or another. I know that things won't always go as expected, but I'm afraid that I don't have enough experience to make the game interesting for a player that ignores everything I offer. To be honest, I spent hours creating custom maps and battlegrounds, writing lore and NPCs, and loved every minute of it. But playing with a friend who isn't interested in any of it somewhat killed my drive for it. Does anyone have a similar experience? Please, what is a good way to encourage my player into actually engaging with the world while still respecting her roleplay? Maybe she's just shy to roleplay. Outside of the game, she talks too much. And I'm afraid it's going to be even harder once the other players join the next session. Thanks. I would say talk to your player, figure out what she wants for her character, figure out if she even wants to participate and play D&D. Maybe tell her, I kinda need you to speak up a little bit because I don't have anything to work with. Tell me exactly what you want for your character to experience so they can interact more. You want to meet a specific NPC or specific character type, and maybe that will get them to open up a little bit more. Maybe somebody they're attached to, a surviving family member, a long lost brother or something. I don't know. But clearly, the player gotta give you something. And you just gotta straight up tell them, like, listen, if you can't give me anything at all, like nothing at all, and you don't even say anything or don't talk, how can I have you in the game and have you participate with everybody if you don't even make an effort to talk? Like, I get it. Sometimes people want to play the silent protagonist type or the silent and mysterious, and sure, I get it. Like, but the silent and mysterious characters still say something whenever necessary. They don't just completely be silent. I mean, you might as well just roleplay a rock. Guess what? Rocks don't talk, and rocks can technically do damage if you push them hard enough. So, I mean, what's the difference between the player and a rock? The player has a tragic backstory, but rocks can have tragic backstory too. You don't know who killed the rock's family. You wouldn't know that. Yeah, you just gotta tell them, like, listen, you either be a character or you be a rock. Please work with me. D&D saved me from going back to an abusive relationship and had influenced my self-confidence greatly. Sorry for the formatting written this at 5 AM to stay awake for work. Trigger warning for all those things there. As cheesy as the title sounds, this is a story of how D&D and my D&D group as a whole saved me, male 24, from going back to an abusive relationship. Starting from the beginning, the year was 2017. I was at an all-time low. I had zero self-worth. I was in a really dark pit of despair and a borderline alcoholic. With my self-worth where it was, came a void that I couldn't seem to fill. So I would just kick and try to find local groups who shared what few interests I had. And through these groups I met Charlotte, fake name of course, a 40-year-old woman. Charlotte and I started talking that summer and ended up meeting up the weekend after Canada Day. One thing led to another, and before I knew it, I was under her thumb. This would begin a time where I would end up staying at her place for weeks on end, isolating me from my family, which looking back helped her build a reliance on her. After a couple of weeks of this, I ended up moving in with her. Oh, wow, this is starting off bad. To have somebody prey on somebody young and force them to be like reliant on them instead of being self-reliant, that's honestly so fucked up. That is genuinely fucked up. I am so sorry you had to even go through that. Just the scenario alone sounds terrifying, actually terrifying. During this time, she continued to further isolate me. That year, she basically barred me from seeing my family and friends. If I ever brought up the idea of seeing them, she shut it down and started crying, saying things like, "Oh, so you don't love me enough to spend time with me," or "You're just so selfish." These tantrums would go on for days, and eventually I just gave in and listened to her. It was around this time she introduced me to her friends, all whom were late 30s to early 40s. They became my support network. More so, they became an echo chamber for her grooming. Jesus Christ. So, she has what fucking audacity does this woman have the right to call you selfish when she's literally manipulating your life and causing you to be, what, a pet? I mean, if you're self-reliant, if you're reliant on one specific person, you're either a baby or a pet. Individuals have individuality and therefore they have the self-autonomy and stuff to be able to do what they want to do. A little bit of I have a bit of a weird, maybe I'm gonna come off a little bit weird, but when it comes to like relationships and stuff, I don't really see a relationship where you're literally tethered at the hip to somebody as a relationship. I see it basically as a toxic disaster that's literally is like a bomb about to set off. And what Charlotte here is doing is just absolutely awful. It's literally just force tethering somebody to her so that she can manipulate and control them with emotional abuse and stuff. This is emotional abusive garbage. What the hell? A lot of problems arose in the second year of the relationship. Started to feel more and more depressed and hopeless, which only served to piss her off. There were multiple times where I had zero interest in coitus, and I would go to sleep only to wake up to her on top of me, doing as she pleased to me while unconscious. Call the police. Call the police. What the fuck, Charlotte? And other times where if I said no to anything, it would lead to her screaming at me or beating me. She always made sure to keep the bruising where it would be covered. I had no real support network, and if I tried to talk to any of my friends, I was shut down and told, "Oh, you're just overreacting. It's not SA, it's a fun surprise." Who the fuck in the world describes SA as a fun surprise? Who in the right fucking mind describes, well, I know who. People that are associated with Charlotte, clearly no right person would be around Charlotte if they're this fucked up. I know this is an RPG horror story and this has nothing to do with RPGs yet, but to treat somebody like that, a fucking human being, to treat him like this is beyond fucked up. I'm not gonna stand up. I'm not gonna not make a comment on it. As somebody who was raised with a really fucked up father, I'm gonna say anybody that goes out of the way and thinks it's okay to treat people and berate them in such a way deserves to get fucked with a rake. Going into 2019, ended up working at the same bar as a friend, which ended up with me getting fired because this friend kept screwing up orders and prep and blaming me. So on the day my 3 months probation was supposed to be up, I was fired. I was out of work for 2 months before I got lucky with another bar. While working there, I ended up meeting a couple actually decent co-workers. I'd hang out with them after work, crashed on one guy's couch a few times after hanging out, just gaming or watching shows. Things really started to take a turn. I was home less and less, which ended up pissing her off more. Good, let her be pissed off. Who gives a shit about her feelings? She's a fucking monster. So on my birthday of 2019, she woke me up early before she left for work and told me it was over. She was done with me and we were through. Which almost ruined that birthday if it hadn't been for my coworkers. I texted one of the prep cooks I worked with and she told me to come down to the bar for drinks. That night was the first time in years I'd actually had a good night drinking. The next day, came home after sleeping at the prep cook's place to all my stuff thrown around the living room of our place, which I had to spend the day cleaning up. This became a common event. I ended up staying out more and meeting a lot of new people. Some from work, some from random places. As crappy as it sounds, a lot of them were used to fill the void that was left. You know, honestly, OP, I can't blame you. I literally cannot blame you. I mean, after having literally your life basically be shackled away to a single person that finds ways to manipulate you and use their friend group of terrible miscreants to continue that torture. Honestly, I can't blame you. You have been restrained for so long, and I just want to be free and do what you want to do and be happy and focus on your own happiness. So I can't blame you for that at this point. I can't. One of my coworkers who I spent my birthday with saw the effect this was having on me and invited me over to the game. We just chatted for a couple of hours and the topic of TTRPGs came up. I'd always been interested in them, but never had anyone to play with. Tried to get the friends to try it with me, but they just laughed at me and called it childish and stupid. But this guy had been playing Pathfinder for years and invited me to try one shot of Starfinder. I was ecstatic and knew nothing of the system. We ended up getting a couple of coworkers and his wife to play with us, and it started me down the track of all things TTRPG. Ended up getting invited to join 2 different D&D games by another coworker, one that he ran and one that a friend of his had started up. Off topic, but I really find Starfinder interesting. I need to learn Pathfinder, and then after that, go learn Starfinder, because Starfinder specifically, with sci-fi and all the other elements, sounds so fun. I want to play a sci-fi TTRPG. I'm starting a Star Wars D&D thing, dude. At this point, my players say, no, don't start anything. No, I'm starting a Star Wars D&D campaign. I don't care. I'm starting a Star Wars D&D campaign. I need some sci-fi in my life. Real badly. The night I joined the one he was a player in, we played until around 4 AM. I played a tiefling spore druid, nice, and helped protect the party's cult from an evil cult. And it was amazing. These games became a weekly staple of my life, which only served to piss off my ex more and more. We were still living together at the time because neither of us could afford to end the lease early. It was around this time I also started talking to family again more. Ended up moving back with family at the end of February 2020, which ended up being a massive blessing in disguise, with the world shutting down and everything. We still played online more often than not 2-3 times a week, which ended up helping the whole isolation thing. But it also helped me look inwards and realize a lot of what happened wasn't in any way okay. During the end times, my ex had messaged me asking if I would be down to grab drinks or something. And I told her off and called her on all of her abusive BS. I never would have had this confidence if it wasn't for making up silly voices online with a group of who to this day are my closest friends. Aww, what a nice ending. I'd want to say it's less than specifically TTRPGs themselves, but the act of being shown kindness by good-natured people that just want to spend time doing fun things, right? TTRPGs themselves, the fun by themselves, sure, as an idea, yeah, they're really fun, but I think it's the people that you play with that make it such a beautiful and bonding experience that just, if I play with anybody else other than my current group, I probably wouldn't be so much into D&D as I am now. It's the people that got me into D&D and got me to try for the very first time, and people that I get to play with and we get to have sessions with, and I'm DMing the sessions for and stuff. It's the people that make it worthwhile. Genuinely happy for you, OP, and I'm hoping you're still having fun playing TTRPGs and stuff, and Very glad for your situation to change. For real, I am so happy that the situation for you has changed. And with that, that's gonna be all our stories for today. I want to thank you very much for watching, and thanks so much for being here. If you like what I do, consider subscribing to the channel and leaving a like. Also, if the RPG Horror Stories ever goes down, or if you want to submit your own personalized horror story, email is down in the description below. I'll see you again in more Tales Tomorrow. Bye-bye.